Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nikco Riesgo. Nikco, how are you?
Russ Cohen, my man.
And I'm Mike Augello. How are you?
Hi, Russ.
So let's talk a little baseball. So the biggest arguing point that you could ever have for a show came out today, and that was the Baseball Writers Association Hall of Fame ballot. So I'm not going to name all the people on the ballot, but we're each going to go through and name three that we think should be in. And so I'm going to go all current here, and my three, and I'm going to really just explain one of them, and we'll just in order for time. That's what we'll do. The one that you're strongest on, that's what you should do. So I am going to go with Ryan Howard, Todd Helton, and Mark Buehrle, and I'm going to. And Mike heard this before, but that's okay. He's going to hear it again because here's the reasons I think for Mark Buehrle. He pitched in the steroid. He had a .572 win percentage. He won over 200 games. He had double-digit wins every year of his career, except for when he was called up for a cup of coffee. He pitched 45 scoreless innings. He had 3 games where he had three times he faced the minimum amount of batters. Nobody in Major League Baseball has ever done that as a pitcher. Basically, one was a no-hitter, one was a perfect game, one was a regular game that just he happened to face the minimum batters. Also, those are the big things. So now we could now you guys can pick it apart. Nikco, what do you think of my choices?
I don't like your choices. I don't. I mean, you completely just neglect some of the greatest players who ever played this game.
You'll get your choice. Forget that.
No. Yeah, we're going to get me in there for sure. But I'm talking about Pete Rose needs to be acknowledged and let him back in.
Listen, you'll get your chance. You need to talk about these players right this moment. Then you will get your shot. You're the next guy.
I like Roger Clemens. I like Mark McGwire.
No.
Talk about the three that he picked.
Yeah. We're going around the horn that way, and then you'll get your shot. But what about the 3 I picked? Even if you don't believe they should be in, say why you don't then.
Okay, I think Buehrle, did he win a World Series?
Yes. He won a World Series, and he got a save in a World Series.
Does he got 2 World Series or just one?
Just one. 05 with the White Sox.
Okay, I'm not sure just one World Series is enough nowadays. I think that's a low bar. I think when you look at Hall of Fame, you got to have some World Series rings, at least 2 or 3. I would think for a pitcher. I know DeGrom get in and never have any if he stays with the Mets, but
there's always going to be exceptions.
Yeah. I don't even know if Tom Seaver won one. I think he won one, right, with the Mets, the 69.
Yeah, he won one. Yes.
Okay. But so one, if that's the standard, as long as you win one and you're in, I mean, obviously, yes, with the perfect games and his performances, he's right there with the best in the current era against some of the greatest hitters in the current era, including Todd Helton. He's one of the greatest hitters. There's no doubt. One of the greatest first basemen defensively. Also a great football player, a great athlete, and just a great representation for the game. And then the last player, who was that last player you mentioned?
Ryan Howard.
Right.
Ryan Howard, absolutely, for Philadelphia. Basically, he's basically broken most of the Philly records as the team leader there. Except did he break any of Mike Schmidt's home run? Is he the all-time home run leader there for the Phillies?
No, he's not.
No, except for that. But
he Achilles, yeah.
Within a short time,
he won the single season home run record for the Phillies, but not career.
Right.
Okay, not the career. Okay, but he, like I said, he smashed some of the records, and then playing. When you look at, he was almost a triple crown winner. He just had maybe 2 or 3 just phenomenal, outstanding, incredible years in a. What do you have? A career of maybe 10 years, a little over 10 years.
12 years.
12 is right. Yeah.
But so when you look at the overall numbers, there's definitely an argument. All right, if you're gonna vote for him.
Okay. So now, Nikco, you can. Oh, Mike, sorry, you get to comment on my 3 first.
Yeah, I agree with how he's one of my 3. I
Okay.
agreed with Howard in terms of he wasn't one of my three, but I could see the case for him, especially in his peak years where between the age of 26 and 31, he had 31 to 58 home runs. I mean, his peak years, then he hurt his Achilles and he never broke 25 home runs after that. So you could make a case that he's like in that Kirby Puckett category where, his career wasn't shortened because he, with modern medical abilities, he was able to continue his career, but he wasn't the same player after he had the Achilles injury. Burley, we just fundamentally disagree. I put Burley, don't take anything away. He did pitch a perfect game. So did Tom Browning. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a Gold Glove pitcher. He's an all-star.
Four-time Gold Glove.
Yeah, Gold Glover, all-star, no doubt. 381 ERA career, 216 wins, never won 20 games, and he won one World Series. I think he's good. I just don't think I can make a better case for David Cone as a Hall of Famer. I can make a better case.
I don't think you can. I don't think David Cone never had 45 scoreless innings, and David Cone, and again, Burley's the only pitcher to face the minimum 3 times in his career. That means anybody, Mike. David Cone never did that.
That's 3 games. Don't get me wrong. It's like, okay, you can't use the individual game mark in terms of a Hall of Famer. Otherwise, Don Larson and Len Barker are Hall of Famers. They pitch perfect.
But this is more than one game. I also talked about the double-digit wins. Like David Cone's got 194 wins. He didn't even break 200.
Right. Oh, I know that. But hey, the mark in terms of career wins as we go forward, Pedro Martinez, how many career wins did he have? Did he break 200? I don't know. Schilling was, I think, in the 2, and I don't think Schilling should be in because he's an asshole. The mark in terms of career wins, I think that is sort of trailing. Like, you're not going to have any more 300 win guys.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the closest is going to be Sabathia when he gets in. But Burley is good. He belongs on the list. He does not belong in the Hall.
Okay, Nico, go ahead and go with your 3. Just 3.
Am I able to bring in the old timers like Pete Rose?
Anybody? No, Pete Rose is off the ballot. Pete Rose. No, you can only bring up guys who are on the ballot.
Correct.
Who's on the? Okay. Well, I think they need to be some special exceptions, though. All right, because guys like Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, McGuire, and
you want all the dirty players. You want players that were almost arrested. You want players that broke the law. You want players that broke the rules of the game.
Put an asterisk by him. You got an asterisk on Barry Bonds for the home runs. Just put an asterisk on everybody else for the Hall of Fame. I mean, these guys are the greatest players who played. We can't deny that. So that's what the vote is for. Players who played. Some of their off field, and then, like I said, they still had to hit the ball in their training. There was 90% of players, or 80% players, or 70% players, a high number of players using. But these guys are going to be affected to the Hall of Fame when most of the players did use. And so it's like that was an era. When you look back at some of the other eras, some of the players maybe used greenies or some stimulants or some uppers, something to get through the pain of the long season, maybe even morphine. And you're not going to say, oh, no, they're not Hall of Fame. But we don't know what they did.
Okay. How about this? Pete Rose is a felon. He falsified tax returns. He went to jail. You're really going to put him in for that?
Well, again, something he did on the field. He can be in the Hall of Fame for his field, like I said, what he did on the field. But like I said, off the field, you put him in jail. That's what he did off the field, but doesn't prevent him from the Hall of Fame, I don't think.
He did it during his playing days, though. This was in 1980, the article was written.
Yes, but it was off the field. The Hall of Fame is for players who played the game and who have represented the game outstandingly at the highest levels on the field in action. That's just my opinion. Now, like I said, for the vote, you know what I mean? I don't have a vote. I don't.
Well, I mean, first of all,
none of us do.
I mean, Pete Rose is ineligible. We know that. Do I think he should be eligible? I do. But I understand why, but I think Shoeless Joe Jackson should be eligible.
Yeah.
Vote on him. Don't vote on him. Jackson was banned because of gambling. Rose was banned because of gambling. Similar situations. If you're going to let a murderer like Ty Cobb, purportedly he murdered someone. He also,
there you go, Russ.
He was never in jail, and
no, he was never
something in the closet.
Yeah, he was never convicted. But there were other.
And actually, Mike, it actually says on Google that it seems unlikely that Ty Cobb actually killed a man in 1912. So that's not a guarantee.
No, it's not a guarantee. But here's
we don't
where
know for sure.
No, we don't know for sure. Here's where I deviate from Nikco. I think that, and I pray to God that the baseball writers do not waver in their ability to not give 75% to Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, and Sosa. Schilling, I don't think was a steroid guy, but he's a complete jerk who's a disgrace. The way he's acted after his career, which I think has sullied his reputation, and I believe that he faked the whole bloody sock baloney.
Yeah, let me ask Nikco about that, because I feel the same way. Nikco, did you even believe the bloody sock? After a while, that story got old.
No, I believed it. I saw the blood. I believed in the way he pitched out there. It seemed like it was gruesome. It was grueling. He was out there.
They said it was ketchup.
He said it was ketchup?
No, the rumors are that it was ketchup, that it wasn't blood.
Yeah, no, I don't believe the rumors. I saw the performance with my own eyes. I saw him out there. It looked like
we saw the performance. We didn't see whether that bloody sock is for real or not.
Yeah, remember, going back to 2004, they said that they sutured his ankle together and that he pitched on a sutured ankle. Bull crap. I think it was all mind games. Just like he's a troll on social media using Garrick38 as his Twitter handle. I think he was trolling he loves to troll the Yankees. He's a jerk. But, was he a great pitcher? Yes. Was he a great pitcher in the playoffs? Yes. But I don't think I thought he was borderline in terms of his case for the Hall of Fame. But the way he's acted, especially, the political stuff and I don't know if it was embezzlement, but it was something with a video game company in Rhode Island that caused a multi-million-dollar scandal. I think he's forfeited his right to be in the Hall of Fame. The other guys are just blatant cheaters. And honestly, Barry Bonds was a Hall of Fame player before he took one PED. And you know what? He didn't have to do it. He did it, and I think he forfeited his right to be in the Hall of Fame. Roger Clemens is a disgrace. I don't care if he pitched for the Yankees. And Sammy Sosa, I've never seen a 210 hitter turn around his entire career. But yeah, that was probably because he was taking a needle somewhere and enhanced his God-given gifts. He was not the player that he was when he battled McGwire for the home run title in '98.
Nikco, your feeling?
No, wow. I totally understand why there are some angry fans, and they don't see the balance between players who don't use and players who did. The thing is, the players who did, there was a lot of them in an era, and it was a fad, and it was an era, and a lot of them played, and the good ones are being called out. But there was a lot of them who used it, and they weren't good. It didn't help them. They got released just like everybody else. And the thing is, you still got to be good. You still have to hit the ball. You still have to perform. And then, like I said, that's just my opinion because I'm a player, and I don't really hold anything against too many players when you're on that field. Off the field, again, I hold you to high standards. And like I said, if you break the law, you should be in jail.
Well, here's an accounting of Curt Schilling when he was pitching in the World Series and Bob Brenly was mic'd up for the game. So Schilling knew he was going to come out, and then he also saw the mic on Brenly. So originally Schilling said he was running out of gas. But
this is in 01, I'm assuming, because Brenly was the manager in Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah. He basically told the catcher he was running out of gas. And that was Damian Miller, he told him. And he said, whatever happens, it's my last inning. But yet it was a different story, and it was more theatrical when Brenly went to take him out, because Brenly was also wearing a mic, and Schilling wanted to just basically amp it up. So that's why nobody believes him with the sock either, Nico, because of that.
Well, what about the players this year? Have you guys thought about some of the awards and the MVP? I've been studying it. Absolutely disgrace.
Let me get my two other guys in and see what you think. Because I agreed with Russ with Helton. I think Jeff Kent has a case with 377 career home runs as a second baseman. Now he wasn't Ryan Sandberg, he wasn't Frankie Frisch or Eddie Collins defensively, but he was a power hitting second baseman, and he was a good one, and he won an MVP. So I think, because that's a position that has been sort of, I think ignored a lot. That he, I think, Lou Whitaker should be in. But he's not on the ballot. I don't think he got the enough percentage when he was on it, so he'd have to go in by the Veterans Committee later on. The other one is Billy Wagner, a dominant closer, and Joe Yerdon on our hockey show had a really good point. He was never the best closer in the league, because in the American League he had Trevor Hoffman, in the American League he had Mariano Rivera. That shouldn't mean anything when it comes to being a Hall of Fame caliber closer. And he was a great one for, I think, over a decade. And that's, with a number of different, with Houston and with the Mets and I think with the Phillies for a couple of years. But, he had, let's see here, I'm just looking up the number here. He had 422 career saves and a career ERA of 2.31. To me, those are Hall of Fame numbers.
I would put Wagner in. As I continue to look over Jeff Kent, and while he did have some of those power years, the second basemen are expected to hit a better average. Now, 290 is a really good average, but it's not 300. If he had a 300 average, I don't think you'd be able to argue he would get in. He doesn't have 3,000 hits. He doesn't even have 2,500 hits. So that's another thing that really kind of hurts him, because he doesn't even have 2,500 hits. He does have the 1,500 RBIs. He does have that, but he played 17 years. So, I mean, Yeah.
I don't think he'll get in this year, but I think he will eventually get in. He's like one of these guys that'll get 50% and it'll climb. And before the 10 years, he'll get in. But, just to finish this off. I don't, I looked down the list, and there are only a couple others that I think could be like Kent that will gain momentum. I don't think, as much as I like Andy Pettitte, and as much as I think the PED admission is, puts him at a higher level than the guys who won't admit it, but I still think that he won't get in because he was part of that group. Scott Rowland might get in eventually, but I don't know. He's another career where injuries hurt him later on, and his numbers really, I think hurt. Teixeira was on a Hall of Fame level, and then he basically stopped hitting for average the last 4 or 5 years of his career. The guys I can't say enough about in terms of not ever being in are David Ortiz and A-Rod. They cannot be let in. This charm campaign, this charm offensive with David Ortiz, because he's such a nice guy, the Big Papi stuff. Stick it. He's a steroid cheat. So is A-Rod. They do not belong in. If you want to make a special wing for the Hall of Fame for all the steroid cheats, be my guest, but I don't want them in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, so a couple things. So as I look over Lou Whitaker, even though he doesn't have the RBIs and homers, and his average is a little lower, it's 276, he has 4 Gold Gloves. Like, that's sort of what's looked at as a second baseman. And so, Nikco, I would put in Lou Whitaker before I'd put in Jeff Kent.
I would put in Lou Whitaker as well. What a great ball player. I mean, he was one of my heroes growing up, just seeing him with a sweet left-handed swing, and he'd put it in the upper deck of the old Tiger ballpark. And, but I love Jeff Kent too. Now, don't tell me that he's not a Hall of Famer, because I think, like Mike said, over time, he's going to gain popularity, because when you start squeezing his overall performance, he was a very unique second baseman. He added a dimension to the team. I think he's got a World Series championship with the Blue Jays there, and he added a dimension.
No, I don't know. He wasn't a big factor if he did.
No, if anything, I'll look it up, but if anything, he was just an extra piece. He was not a starter for that team.
He came up with the Blue Jays before he was
right.
But
before he went to the Mets.
I got a chance to play against Jeff Kent, and I seen him in action, and there's no doubt in my mind that he's definitely a Hall of Famer. And like I said, he's probably more of a Hall of Famer in my eyes than even Mike Piazza. When you look at
stop.
He was hitter and a pure athlete and a pure talent. Jeff Kent wasn't the greatest second baseman, but Mike Piazza wasn't the greatest catcher.
Yeah,
I get that, but Piazza was a way better average hitter. Come on.
Yeah, he doesn't have a World Series because he was traded the year that the Blue Jays won the World Series. He was traded to the Mets in '92, and the Blue Jays won the first World Series in '90. So he was on the Mets when the Blue Jays won.
Okay. And Nikco, I mean, when did Jeff Kent ever battle for a batting title or a home run title like Mike Piazza? Like, come on.
Yeah.
He was under the radar. He was just one of those steady performers who did a lot of good things, like a Chris Taylor. He may not get in the Hall of Famer, but you look at the value that he brings every single day. He adds power to the lineup. And then he plays a skill position like second base, which is a tough position to play. They just
with 10 minutes to go, we're getting off the Hall of Fame. It's over.
Okay.
We're done with the Hall of Fame.
All right. Okay.
We're done. Let's talk about some of the free agents out there.
Let's talk about Bryce Harper being the MVP and Ohtani. They're like,
we'll get to it.
Yeah, and nobody gives a shit.
Free agents, like, that's past. We can't do anything. Yes, those guys won MVP. It was great. But,
it was terrible. It's a disgrace to the game, really. Harper is like the 32nd best player and maybe the 11th best hitter. No, in the last league, I got 11 better hitters than Harper right now for you. I can list them off.
I know, but in the second half, his OPS was like 1,100. And if you saw that Phillies lineup, he was the only one producing in that lineup and kept them alive most of the season in the pennant race. No, listen, I watched a lot of Bryce Harper this year, and he was, I thought, off the charts.
He was good. He's an all-star player, but he's not the best. Freddie Freeman is the National League MVP. He's got a World Series, and when you look at his stats and his numbers, the numbers don't lie. He's the best hitter.
Okay, and we all agree on Ohtani, but I did want to talk about some free agents. So, it's interesting. The Mets hired Billy Epler, and they can't retain Aaron Loop. Aaron Loop goes to the Angels the same way that Noah Syndergaard did, which is fine. But the Mets led everybody to believe that they have plenty of money, yet on these offers, they're not outbidding anybody. So now even Steven Matz is going to make a decision probably the day after this broadcast or the day of this broadcast. And the Mets have an offer in, and I don't think he's going to go back to the Mets. I actually think he's going to continue on with the Blue Jays. I don't know what your guys' thinking on that is, but the overall thinking here is the Mets really have to overpay or guys aren't coming. They don't even have a manager.
Well, I mean, it would help to have a manager, but really when you're paying, when you're paying these guys big money. And remember, the window here is about a week, because December 1 everything shuts down because of the impending lockout. So a lot of teams are going to try to get their stuff done in the next week, and then from what I've heard from guys like Ken Rosenthal and John Heyman and a few others, there's a school of thought that they're going to, like guys like Boris and his clientele are going to wait until after December 1st and wait until they get the CBA, because then they'll have a better feel of what the financial landscape is going to be. That's risky.
But they may not have much time. Yeah, the time frame could be very squeezed. They might have an agreement in, let's say, May, and they say, okay, May 15th we have an agreement. We're starting June 1st.
No, I'm glad things have changed over the last couple of years, where all of a sudden Artie Moreno with the LA Angels is acting fiscally responsible. Okay, I've never seen a guy throw away more good money after bad than Artie Moreno and the Angels. I mean, the Rendon contract a couple of years ago was ridiculous. Not to say Rendon isn't a good player, but the money that he paid him was ridiculous. He throws $25 million on Syndergaard when Syndergaard has pitched 4 innings in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think it was 21. I don't think it was 25. I think it was 21.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. That was the bad money that Houston spent on Verlander. 21 million on Syndergaard,
which is too much. I agree.
$7 million on Andrew Heaney, who was like pouring gas on a fire with the Yankees. That guy's a worthless piece of crap. I mean, I don't get it. And I heard tonight that they might be in on Marcus Stroman. So I mean,
Nikco will explain this. Nikco can explain this.
Okay, go ahead.
Nikco.
No, I'm with you. Basically, if I were the Mets, the Mets are in trouble. The Mets are in trouble. Their chance to build their team was last year. They had all the free agents available. They should have got everybody, spent the money they could, and then let the cards deal themselves. But now
deadline, they could have done that, and they didn't.
No players available that they need that can help them.
Right. Well, there are some. We can't say none, because I don't know. If Max Scherzer got desperate, he can go to the Mets for more money, but he's not going to. There's Gausman. He could go to the Mets, but I don't know. Where do you think he's going, Mike?
Well, I think the rumor out there was that San Francisco is making a bid on him. I think Oakland was, which Oakland doesn't make any sense, because Oakland, it sounds like they're tearing down. That's why the Matt Olson rumors. Which I think they were tied into the Yankees before the 40-man rosters came out, and then since then, now that might have lost a little of its steam, but.
You got Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray's out there. But again, you have concerns about Robbie Ray.
Oh, my God. See, this is okay, you cannot dispute the great year that Robbie Ray had. And I heard John Morosi on a Toronto podcast talking about, the effect that Pete Walker, their pitching coach, had on him and on Steven Matz. Well, okay, the problem is that Pete Walker isn't going with Robbie Ray. So if Robbie Ray goes out there and signs a 7-year contract with the Boston Red Sox, the guru who got him straightened out and had a Cy Young season isn't going to be pitching with him, or isn't going to be there with him. I think it's extremely risky to go out. I really hope the Blue Jays sign him, because I'd like to see the Blue Jays waste money on him and then have problems signing a Bo Bichette or Vladimir Guerrero. Because I think Robbie Ray, he could be another, Romero, the lefty that all of a sudden lost it. I don't trust Robbie Ray. I don't think he can repeat what he did this year.
Nikco,
I agree.
One other
rounds.
Okay, so you agree on that. Like Nick Castellanos is out there, and problem with him is that not Nick Castellanos. It's Nick Castellanos. The problem with him is you have to give up the draft pick if you've gotten a draft pick from losing a player. If you sign Castellanos, you have to give that draft pick to the other team that you just signed Castellanos from, so the Reds would get it. So like a team like the Mets isn't going to do that. I think that does kind of hurt his market value a little.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a great hitter, but he's not even in the top 20 hitters. And he's kind of getting up there in age too. So he's another one. I would shy away of giving him the big money and maybe a one year deal, 1 or 2 years, nothing long term.
Well,
Mike, what's your thoughts?
He put it all together last year with 34 home runs and hit over 300. The previous year he had 225. So yeah. That's got to mitigate his value in terms of, okay, I want to see, how consistent. He's had good years before when he was with the Tigers. But really he's sort of yo-yoed up and down. And that's a guy that I don't know, at age 29, I'm not giving him a 7 or 8 year deal. At most I'd give him 4 or 5. But we got to see where he, what the market is for his particular position. I mean, I don't know how many third baseman outfielders. I mean, it's really him and Chris Bryant are probably fighting for the same, the teams are fighting over them. And if they don't get one, they'll get the other, or at least they'll be in the bidding for the other.
Well, the one thing Bryant at least proved he could hit home runs in 2 different places. We don't know if Castellanos could hit home runs outside of Great American.
Right. It's a bandbox of a ballpark. But this, and I want to get Nikko's thought on this. I think the market is going to be completely frozen until one of these shortstops signs, because you've got Seager, you've got Simeon, you've got Correa, you've got Baez, you got Story. I mean, each one has pluses and minuses. I mean, Correa is probably the best of the group. But until one of them signs and sort of sets the market, I think it's going to sort of be all locked up and verklempt.
Right. There's probably not going to be any big splash of money. I mean, we're looking at a week here, nothing. We're probably going to wait until the agreement before any splashing is done. But yeah, so some of the big money, Simeon obviously deserves every bit of whatever Harper's got. I'd give it to Simeon.
Well, Russ, this is the question I have. Do you think any of these guys are going to get anywhere close or above what Lindor got from the Mets? I think Correa probably could.
None of them will get the Lindor contract. None of them.
You don't even think Correa won't?
Nope. I think he'll get close, but I don't even think he'll get that contract. I think Lindor took that contract because he knew it was better than what he could get out there. And I don't think any of these other guys could get it.
And here's where one team here's where one team really controls the market. And of course it's the Yankees. Because everybody thinks, okay, the Yankees, they need a shortstop. They've moved Gleyber Torres back to second base, or they may trade him and put LeMahieu at second base. But here's the thing. Right now, Brian Cashman's sending out the signal that I'm not going for any of these big shortstops. Now, that might be just a ploy to say, okay, well, I'm not going to sign you for 9 years at $30 million when you're Corey Seager in your mid-20s, when you're going to have to move to third base in a couple of years. And I don't know if he would want to spend that money on Correa, who's basically done everything that he could to alienate the Yankee fan base. But I think if all of a sudden after the lockout that one of these guys says, well, I'll take a 1 year deal for $30 million, or I'll take a 4 year deal for, a shorter deal, then I think he's in on them. But I think their plan B is maybe to go out and sign a defensive shortstop like an Alderton Simmons and wait for some of their shortstop prospects to come up, and then they spend their money on a first baseman or on starting pitching, which they need desperately.
And then we'll have another year with no Yankees in the World Series.
Yeah, but Nikko, they can't spend $30 million on every player on their, they're spending almost $30 million on Stanton. They're going to probably spend 30 plus on Judge. I don't know if it's going to be 6 or 7 years because he's close to 30 or over the age of 30. He's older than a lot of people think. Yeah. They're spending 30 plus on Garrett Cole. There's just so many players that you can spend $30 million on. And I think that, if they could get a Story or if they could get a Seager for in the 20s, I think they would go for it. But
Story, they get Story. That's the wrong decision, in my opinion. When I did the numbers, Story in Colorado is typically a hitter's friendly ballpark. But when you look at the numbers, he doesn't even compare in the top 30. And if you're talking about the New York Yankees, you want somebody in the top 30 of the players who can help your team. And you're looking at someone like Semien. You're looking at someone like Correa.
Well, I see the guy. If I'm the Yankees, the guy I'm going for is Seager because they have a couple really great shortstop prospects who are 1 to 2 years away, and you could play Seager at shortstop for the next couple of years and then move him over to third base.
You don't want to give him the big money. You don't know how he's going to do in the American League. Similar to Lindor going from the American League and having to adjust for the National League. There's going to be some adjustment because Seager is a fastball hitter and he tears it up. But if you can eat him alive with the slider all day long, and the book is going to be out on him in the American League, and that's all they throw out there. So
hold on. Nikco should understand, so should the audience, that Mike just doesn't want the Yankees to sign Correa, but I do believe they'll have interest in him. I do.
No,
they've got to. If they want to win.
I don't, as a Yankee fan, he's the last guy I want. I don't care how good he is. I don't care if he's a future Hall of Famer. He's a cheat. He's a jerk. And he's done it. He's done more in the last couple of months to alienate Yankee fans than Marcus Stroman has done in his entire career. He seems to get off on doing that. No, I'm looking at it realistically in terms of the way the Yankees are set up, and all I can see is a 3-4-5 or 2-3-4 in the batting order of Judge, Seager, Stanton, righty, lefty, righty. That, okay, good luck if they stay healthy. But which is always a question with all of them. But I don't want another lineup with the Yankees of having 8 righties in Yankee Stadium. It's asinine to do that. And they realized that halfway through the year. That's why they went out and got Gallo and Rizzo. And they were much better when they had a balanced lineup. That's what they need. And that's what I think Brian Cashman is going to get.
All right. We're going to leave it there. That's it for the game. We'll catch everybody next time.
My man.